Tech Talks, the People and Planet podcast. On this episode, I'm delighted to be joined by Sonia Neary, the founder and CEO of patient communication platform, Wellola. Sonia, hi, how are you?
Hi, great, thanks. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you on the pod. Sonia, this is, like I say, it's a healthcare technology platform centered around patient communication, I believe. Tell us more. What's the problem that you guys solve with the company mission? What's the inspiration?
Sure. So Wellola is our company, and the product is something called Porta Sana, the gateway to healthcare. Our vision as a company is that the future of healthcare is preventative, community-based, and supported by digital tools. The I suppose core team are clinical by trade, so we really understand the challenges that are faced by kind of large healthcare organizations and the service users they care for, and we're here to support what we call supported self-management through our platform. So typically we offer healthcare organizations the tool, we plug it into their core clinical information system in a hospital or a trust, and they can choose to switch on any one of 11 core modules that we have to allow for either clinical or administrative data to be shared, really with the goal of empowering people to manage themselves with as little input as possible from the clinical team remotely.
Got it. Okay. So the kind of high level plan here is to keep them out of hospital, right?
Totally. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we all know the problems with, the burden on the NHS or whoever else, in the private sector as well. I work a lot in the US healthcare system as well, and they have got exactly the same problems over there. And also, I guess there's that whole sort of mental health issue for the patients as well, isn't it? If they can keep themselves out of the hospital, then it's certainly better for them as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And even things like when you look at educating someone, if you simply educate someone about their condition, the impact that it has on, them being more confident about managing their condition, what to do if something gets worse, just, it really reduces things like GP visits and A&E visits, just education alone. And that's one of our 11 modules, so it's just quite powerful. The platform can be used to kind of keep people out of hospital in terms of follow-up appointments as well. So clinicians can curate whole programs. You might have a mental health care issue, but you also might be diabetic and you might be waiting to have your hip replaced. And so lots of platforms out there might treat one or other of those or facilitate the treatment of those things digitally. But with our platform, you can build out care pathways for all of those conditions. And so therefore, as the service user, you're getting the right resources for your mental health care issue, your diabetes, your hip replacement. You're filling in your forms ahead of time. So, really kind of being optimized ahead of coming in for a procedure, potentially getting out of hospital sooner onto the platform. So again, self-managing. So yeah, absolutely. Mental health care is one of the components that we can service. But it's omni-channel and omni-condition, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. I guess where I was coming from there was if you've got a physical problem, but some people can get anxious by the fact that they're actually having to go into hospital. Right, so it's actually better for their mental health not to actually go in at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I used to work as a physio, and I worked in kind of some, acute facilities and then step down rehabilitation units. And you see people, sitting in a hospital bed and they're deteriorating. They're not around their friends and family. They're not doing their normal activities of daily living, exposed to MRSA, VRE. There's so many reasons why, the hospital bed is not appropriate for many of us. So now, the technology exists. Why not move towards that? And you can see that strategy in NHS, right? That kind of NHS at home model, virtual wards, virtual care. It really is, I think, where the future of healthcare is going. And I find that quite exciting for myself, as a user of the system. Yeah.
So unwrap the product for us then. You've got 11 modules, you say. What's included? And are those modules do they bolt on? Do you have to have them all, or do you choose which ones you like?
Yeah, so I suppose our core unique selling proposition is what we call care journeys, and that's 3 modules. So you pull together very simply, you build out your educational library, you build out the online assessments. We have this kind of FHIR standards form builder, and then you amalgamate those into a care journey pre and post engagement, or for a chronic condition. So the care journey could be, standard hip replacement. I'll go there because I'm an orthopedic physio by trade. So,
Sure.
someone gets diagnosed with arthritis, they need a hip replaced, and they'll get a video about, okay, well, what's arthritis, and a PDF document about what's a hip replacement. And then they'll fill in their forms around how to prepare for surgery and give consents for anesthetics and all that lovely stuff. So all of that is handled digitally and remotely, instead of having to come in person. And they come in better prepared because they're often on a waiting list for an extended period, right? And while they're waiting, they're optimized, and it could be exercises, etc. So that care journeys piece is kind of our unique selling proposition. And then we have bidirectional messaging, symptom tracker, connect your wearables, connect medical grade devices, and then of course those kind of standard admin functionalities that you'd expect in what we call a PEP, or a patient engagement portal. So we have appointment management, digital letters, view aspects of your care record. So it's a platform approach. There's a lot of really fantastic point solutions out there, and they do their things really well. We offer each of those modules, but also we can aggregate, if there's already existing tech that's very slick and it's working really well and it's mission critical, we can launch that existing tech from underneath our platform. So instead of giving our module for letters, we'll launch, the letters module that the trust already has in place. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to recognize, if clinicians are working with useful tools, there's no need to reinvent the wheel,
Sure,
Yeah.
So you're a physio, an orthopedic physio by trade, you said. How have you arrived at founding Wellola?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I suppose at the heart of it, that vision piece around people not being at home, people not being in the hospital unless they really need to be, is where it began for me. So I actually set up a home care physiotherapy company, in around 2013, with that vision of keeping people at home, right? And I approached kind of Ireland's largest health insurer, and we built out an agreement together, and we sort of supported early discharge, quite kind of cutting edge at the time, getting people out of hospital early and having kind of home care instead. And as I was kind of moving about in people's homes, I really struggled with kind of lack of visibility of their data. I was working on paper. I'd have to phone the hospital if I wanted to sort of learn about their op notes. I'd have to phone the GP to learn about their meds. It was always quite disconnected and on paper. So I began with building a platform quite early on that was actually more for the clinician to be able to access data. And over time, I suppose it's flipped, it's sort of almost fully 360 to face the patient, and it plugs into those core clinical information systems. As I said, that tech was working really well in the hospital systems. We're not there to replace it. We're there to plug in and share the data outbound to the patient. But the vision is still the same. It's keep people at home, give people the tools to self-manage, support them as much as humanly possible, and then leave them, off to mind themselves. And I think we all recognise that there is a paucity of healthcare providers. There is ultimately a lack of human resources, that are skilled. And people want to know about their conditions. They want to be able to manage themselves as best they can. They want to stay out of hospital. And I think that mindset has really kind of been solidified since COVID. People are more open to alternative ways of engaging with their healthcare provider. So, yeah, it's a funny one. I'm not a coder. I suppose, had a problem, that disconnect in data, and I had a vision of keeping people at home, cared for at home, and little by little, I kind of built out a team, built out a core product or an MVP, and just iterated on that. We're really big believers, I suppose, in staying really close to the end user and learning and iterating. And that's how over time it's kind of flipped much more to becoming a patient-facing product than dedicated just home care physiotherapy, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe, if I'm right, you're in your 8th year?
Yeah, that's right. We set up in 2016.
Right.
So we started in Ireland. We now have offices in Leeds, and our core team are really based out of Leeds now.
Brilliant. So, I mean, it's rarely plain sailing, is it? We speak to a lot of founders on this show. And we're always interested to understand how you guys approach problems and how you overcome challenges and how you navigate those. Share a little bit more on how you've had to adapt, I suppose, over that time.
Yeah, for sure. I always kind of see it as multiple swim lanes approach, and you've got your information governance swim lane and your data protection swim lane, and you're getting yourself on procurement frameworks and products, etc., etc. So it's really about kind of as much as you can building the team that you can really rely on and having the foundations there. And in the beginning, that team is kind of founders networks, other kind of accelerator programs that you can participate in where, you know, you can stand on the shoulders of giants who've gone before you and learn. And, like the problems that I think founders and entrepreneurs have are shared, we're all going through the same challenges of you
Yeah.
need to secure capital, you need to validate product market fit, ensuring you secure the right talent, ensure that you're communicating the right message about, who you are and what you want to be as a company to the audience that are listening. So there's a lot of balls in the air and lanes to swim in. And for me, it's about people, learning from people, and as early as possible, kind of validating product market fit with as little cost as you can, even if it's a quick sketch. This is what I propose. And talk to people, get out there and get listening and get learning. And it's amazing how open people are in terms of willingness to give and share. Like I've, particularly I started, as I said, in Dublin, and in Ireland, there's an entity called Enterprise Ireland who've been really kind to us, and the Department of Business and Trade equally, like when we sort of set up our footing in Leeds. There's all these entities, and there's funding available and education available, and there's so many vehicles that one can avail of to support oneself, because it can be a lonely trajectory, and I think you just need to have the right contacts, the right network, the right team. It's all about the people that you surround yourself with, I think, to give you that support and longevity and resilience to keep going on the difficult days.
Absolutely. No, thanks for sharing that. Last question then. What comes next? Anything exciting that you can share for the listeners?
What comes next for Wellola? I suppose, we really want to be the market leader in supported self-management. Our focus is kind of capitalizing on our current opportunities in England and increasing our market share in England. And then we are exploring opportunities in Scotland and Wales and continental Europe. So, the goal is to be Europe's most accessible, patient-facing supported self-management platform. And, we're working our way towards that. We should be going live shortly with the Mental Healthcare Trust. We're already live with Leeds Teaching Hospital Trust and Birmingham Community and so on. But so, and then equally a little bit of a foothold in private sector this year as well. So I'll be able to announce those shortly enough, Lee.
I look forward to that and doing a podcast 0.20 and talking all about it.
Sounds
Sonia,
good.
thank you for coming on. It's been lovely to get your insights.
Thank you.
This is Sonia Neary, CEO and founder of Wellola. Thanks again.
Thank you.